Patrick Bateman was never supposed to be a role model. He is a warning. And somehow, after the pandemic, he's become the most aspirational figure on the internet because the mechanism behind it is something that can attract anybody. So let's start with what American Psycho is about. Patrick Bateman is a Wall Street banker, rich, handsome, obsessively groomed, as you can see in the opening scenes of the movie and the book. He has a morning skincare routine that costs more than some people's rent. He hangs out at trendy, upscale restaurants. He has the perfect business card, or thinks he does.
See Paul Allen's card.
And he's completely and totally shallow. Author Bret Easton Ellis invented Bateman from personal experience. He was living in 1980s New York, suddenly famous and surrounded by people like investment bankers at the most exclusive clubs. And what he noticed was interesting. All these generic rich men looked the same. They confused each other for other people all the time. They couldn't hold a real conversation, and every interaction was a performance, and every single moment was competition. The character of Patrick Bateman was the author's way of screaming, "Look at what this culture is doing to people." This guy, Bateman, is not a hero. Far from it. He's the caricature of a man so empty from all the status chasing that he can no longer discern what is real. And the murders in the book and in the movie are most likely hallucinations. He doesn't actually hurt anybody, but he does hurt himself. And that is the point of the story. That has always been the point. Now go on social media and you'll find thousands of edits. Patrick Bateman walking in slow motion, Patrick Bateman staring in the mirror, Patrick Bateman's morning routine with captions like "No excuses, become the villain," and "Sigma mindset." Keep in mind that there's zero irony, zero understanding and context of what they're actually quoting. A story that makes fun of hypermasculine status culture has become the recruitment medium for hypermasculine status culture. And it becomes even more weird because there's a movement now that has slowly absorbed the emptiness of American Psycho and pushed it to someplace that's genuinely dangerous. It's called Looksmaxxing. Now, maxing is a term lifted from gaming culture where a character can go through upgrades and patches to fix themselves. So, Looksmaxxing is directly tied to a culture of hyper optimization, where one's body is treated like a game character and the goal is to improve its appearance to the max. In simple words, the only thing that matters is how attractive you are. The execution of Looksmaxxing starts with grooming and fitness, pretty standard healthy stuff, and then it declines into extreme skincare rituals and doing jaw exercises for hours a day. Then there's something called bone smashing, which is very disturbing. Young men fracture their own facial bones to try to build a sharper jawline. This is real, and the people doing it are often very young men in their teens or early to mid-20s. Now let's put a face to this. The 20-year-old known as Clavicular. He has hundreds of thousands of followers and his entire identity is built around one belief. Your face is your value. Nothing else matters. He rates influencers and celebrities on their looks, usually gives them low scores because that's what gets views. Cruelty gets views, right? He's been known to smash his own face on camera, and once on a podcast, he openly said that he preferred a political candidate not because of their policies, but because the other one was, in his words, fat and ugly. I don't even know if you can absorb this. A generation of young men is being handed a worldview where your self-worth depends on your jaw angle. The correct response to loneliness and confusion is to stop being human and start being a product. This is the question we should be asking. Why does this work? Why do young people fall for it? Because it provides relief. Think about it. You're 17, 18, and this is what is happening inside. You don't understand yourself. You don't understand why you feel the way you feel. You've got anxiety that is new and loneliness that you can't understand, and insecurities you've never admitted to. And looking inside and seeing all this is terrifying. Then someone online says, forget all that. Just fix your face, just make money, ignore women, and your status is everything. And suddenly there is relief because you can reject everything else and focus on a routine and some facial metrics. That's all. The relief that you don't have to think about or solve anything else makes you think that you're winning. The real tragedy is that none of the problems that get ignored goes away. It just gets buried under a thin, one-dimensional philosophy, a philosophy that will break the moment it comes into contact with something real. Now, I think people should talk about this more. We are the loneliest generation in history. This is measurable. There's data to prove it. Lifestyle inflation, a terrible economy, all of this forces people to move constantly. You move cities, jobs, apartments. You never stay long enough to actually belong somewhere. You never know your neighbors. Your friendships exist inside a phone. The old structures, religious, community, extended family, the local hangout spot, etc. have dissolved and nothing real has replaced them. So there's a vacuum, and into that vacuum walks social media, which is full of charismatic people with agendas who say, I understand you, the world has failed you, and this is who you should blame. And here's what to do. Very neat. There's no need for original thinking when this is on sale, right? And this is not just a Western problem anymore. There's Andrew Kibe in Kenya, El Tamak in Mexico. There are dozens of people in India, all copycats of Andrew Tate, all running the same playbook and getting rich off of the confusion and desperation of young men. So what can you actually do? The million dollar question: how can we stay immune to these influences? I'm not going to tell you to touch grass or log off. That's not an answer. The first step is consciousness directed inward. Because the reason Looksmaxxing, etc. is so attractive is that they offer you an escape from yourself. So become someone who no longer needs to escape. We all need to look inside long enough to achieve a certain degree of self-acceptance. This is the only way to fight the terrible influence of one-dimensional philosophies that reject the nuances and complexities of life. So, read fiction and read philosophy and sit with the findings in these books. Good fiction takes you inside another person's experiences you might otherwise reject, like for example someone who's not in your social class. It can show you dignity in ways of being that these influencers deem worthless.
So none of my friends would even have those kind of problems because I don't roll with fucking little bitches.
And most importantly, it can relax your quickness to reject something, because what you reject is often the part of you that you're afraid to confront. When, for example, you believe someone is lazy, it's possible the part of you that you haven't accepted is the part that needs rest. And remember, philosophy exposes you to philosophers. These are people who spent an agonizing amount of time, usually their whole lives, analyzing and debating the nature of life and existence. You're not unique in how you suffer. This has been going on for ages. The discoveries of these guys have amazing continuity. What was relevant in the 17th century is relevant today. So you will find community in the thoughts and words of philosophers and writers long dead. And you can hold these thoughts and you can add your flavor and observations to them. You can wake up and be miserable and afraid and ashamed and confused while being perfectly aware that this is the way it is and has been forever. This is life. The struggle is the point.